everybody. Hopefully you can hear me, and I think I'm going to get started pretty soon. Looks like we got about 35 people in, and just do some housekeeping right now. Make sure everybody knows how to best utilize the tools here for Zoom. I'm sure after last year, this is not everybody's first Zoom call, but just wanted to make sure everybody has a heads up on how to best utilize the Zoom tools. At the bottom of the screen, there's a chat box. If you open the chat box, you can post a question. I have a few questions that came in the Facebook group, and I'm going to try to cover those, but I don't know if you guys have questions. Those who are on the call, you can post them here. I'm going to try to go through some of these. I'm going to go through these at my normal pace, which is pretty quickly. And if you guys have any further questions once we kind of go through them, then what I'm going to do is obviously answer the questions in the Facebook group. That's kind of my norm. So can anybody, if you hear me, do me a favor in the chat box. Can you please just type, I can hear you and I can hear you pretty good, just so I know that my microphone's working and I'm not just talking to myself. So anybody who has the ability, good. All right, Charlotte, all right, good. Everybody right back. All right, as long as you guys can hear me, then we'll get started. So I'm gonna take some of the questions, like I said, that came through the Facebook group. I had a couple of people who texted me questions. So I'm gonna go through those questions first. And like I said, I'm gonna go at my normal pace, which is pretty quickly. I'm going to go through those and answer those questions in general terms. And then if we want to be more specific, if we want to get into the details of some of those things, we can, and some of the questions were very generic. So they're going to be pretty generic when I look at them. So the first question that came in was about schedule template. And I can only assume the schedule template was something about block scheduling and creating those templates in the schedule for perfect days. So what I'm going to do is show everybody in my schedule. All right, you can see that I actually have these color codes to let me know what my perfect days would look like. So here in the schedule, I can see how my day is laid out. I can tell what kinds of procedures, and the colors are going to correspond to the appointment types that you have in your day. So if you guys want to create schedule templates or block schedules, the first suggestion that I have to you is get a piece of paper and pencil, which I never do for anything else. I'm not a paper and pencil kind of person. So the first thing that I would suggest is, if you want to do block scheduling, then what you need to do is get a piece of paper and pencil, and you can actually do the layout of your schedule that you want on that piece of paper. When you're done, then what you're going to be able to do is transcribe that layout into Eaglesoft. So this is the way, if I had a piece of paper, I would lay it out and say, this is how I want my schedule to look. And then the secondary part of that would be to go to the front office screen, and you're going to go to list, on schedule, and the template designer. So this is, I'm going to design the template that I want. Sorry about that. The template that I want in my schedule. All right. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to just create a new day. And I'm going to say, based on what I've laid out on that piece of paper, I'm going to say, okay, at 8 o'clock, I want a particular procedure. So I hit add appointment type, and then I find the appointment type that I want to add. So let's say restorative medium, and that's 60 minutes. And I start to lay out the appointment type that I want. And I give this a name, like Dr. Smith Op 1. So I would actually name that template for the doctor who I want to give it to, or the provider who I want to give it to, and then the chair, the column that I want to add it to. So I'm not going to save this because I already have some on file. So you can see right here, I have a perfect hygiene day. All right. And you can see this is my perfect hygiene day and how it's laid out. All right. So I can see exactly, I can see exactly how what my day laid out. And this is going to be for a hygiene day. And I have all these perfect days laid out for all my doctors and my hygienist. And then I go over to list, back over to on schedule, and I go to the office chair that I want to assign that chair, that template to. Now let's just take my hygienist, and I can say for Tia, here's my day. I want to put Monday, I want my hygiene day 2, and then Thursday, I want my hygiene day, whatever. So I can lay out all of those things. They are in, somebody's asking a question, is there a way to do a quick, no, okay. Where is the spot? Did you write 5 units in treatment? Okay, I'll get back. That's a question for another. I thought that had to do with this. Okay, so you can see I've got my perfect hygiene days set up for my hygienist, and then on Saturday I've got a hygiene Saturday template. So you can lay out this for your days that you created the templates for. You can put the templates on these days for that particular chair. In the end, you're going to wind up with these color codes based on the days you have. But it makes a whole lot more sense to do this on paper before you try to do this in the computer or in Eaglesoft. So lay out your days on paper, do your perfect Monday, perfect Tuesday, perfect Wednesday. The question I always get is, can I do an every other sort of thing? No, you can't. You can't have an every other Tuesday kind of setup or something like that. It has to be every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, et cetera, et cetera. You can't do something like that. So just so you know, for scheduling templates, there is a thread on schedule templates. So I'm going to just go right to the Facebook group. I always try to show people exactly how I find stuff. Everybody's wondering how I can find things so quickly in the Facebook group. If you just go to this little magnifying glass to search, and I'm just going to do block schedule. I don't even know if that's the right term, but I think it is block schedule. All right, there it is, block scheduling. All right, so you can go right to this group and find out how to make these blocks. And there's 77 comments about how to do block scheduling here. And I'm sure that you'll see there's even my YouTube video on how I do block scheduling, but that's as quickly and easy. But exactly what I just told you guys is all laid out here. Easy peasy to find. All right, so that was block scheduling. I'm going to go to question 2. The best way to clean out employers and insurances, fee schedules, and coverage books. Good question. There is no easy way. Over the winter, I have spent a total of 18 hours helping offices clean out employers and insurance companies. Couple things I'm going to tell you. It is not something that I would suggest that anybody spend a lot of time doing. All right, because the thing is, if you're getting paid by insurance companies, then your claims are going through. So it is not losing you any money. It is causing headaches. It's the thing that's probably caused half of the gray hair that I have, but it is not a big deal. So don't obsess about cleaning these things out. What I will tell you is make sure that your insurance companies are in properly. All right, insurance companies are a simple, easy battle because there shouldn't be more than a couple hundred insurance companies, if not 100. So under your list and insurance companies, I just go down the list and I look for duplication. So this is my example. So Delta Dental, Pennsylvania, all right, and that says Delta Dental, D-E-M-T-A-L, all right. But these are the same mistakes that I see in all offices. See Delta this way, Delta that way. So what I always do is I find one really good Delta Dental of a particular state, and they all should be just listed as Delta Dental of 2 digits. All right, AARP is Delta Dental of Pennsylvania -AARP. All right, it is not AARP. It's Delta Dental of Pennsylania -AARP. So if I look at this, I want to find Delta Dental of Pennsylvania, one perfect version of it. And I go in here and I make sure that I have a good phone number, a good address, and that's not the real address, but I make sure that I have my payment group set up. And if anybody doesn't know what payment groups are, it's time to learn about that. We could talk about that. My claim payer ID, and then my e-attachment ID number, all right? So I make sure that all this is correct. And no, this one's not correct, but I make sure all of this is all correct. Then I go back and I find all the duplicates and I make my duplicates say copy. so that I know that that's one not to use. You can use the word do not use if you want, but I use copy because it's less to type. So I know this is a good one, that's a bad one, and then the other ones are bad. And then I go through the process of finding everybody who's connected to copies, and I move it to the correct one. And then in the end, I might be able to inactivate the ones like that don't have anybody connected to it. But this is just OCD work. This is not going to make me more money. This is not going to do anything other than helping to clean up the list. And it's a great thing to clean up the list, but it's not making a big difference. So don't spend a lot of time on this. If you want me to dial into your office and do it, I will, but I still don't even suggest it because sometimes it can give you some error messages when you get a bulk payment. So, this is just for us to get our list a little cleaner, but it's not going to save the world. So that's the big deal. When it comes to insurance companies, employers, the most important thing in your employer list is that your employers are up to date and really clean. Really simplistic ways of putting your employers in. So I'll give you an example. So here's AARP. It's just in there. I can see a group number. I can see that's connected to Delta Dental. But this AARP, I can see that it was last updated January of 2021. I need a patient identification number, PID, and I have an NA, which means no assignment of benefits comes to me. So right here, there's a whole lot more information about that employer than that one. All right. So I want to make sure that my employers are listed this way. I always have a date afterwards to let me know the last time I updated the benefits for this plan. All right. And then I might put some little codes in here so that I can tell information about it. You can see here's a plan right here, Groovy Records from 2/19. This plan hasn't been updated for a long time. So I can think that this is an inactive employer, 5/19 down here. All right. So I can tell if this list has to be worked and somebody's got to go in here and update these benefits to make sure that the information is correct. The ones that don't have any information, I know I could probably go in here and inactivate this because there's nothing that's been done at least since 2019 when I started putting the dates in here. So it's an easy way to look at your list to find out what's good, what's bad, and what needs to be cleaned up. But again, every time I touch a new employer, I have somebody who comes in and they work for one of these employers, I'm going to update the benefits, unless it's a current date. I'm going to update the benefits, and I'm going to put a February of 2022 date on there. And I'm going to know that that information is correct until January of 2023. So that's a way to clean this up. Don't go through the wholesale process of cleaning up your employers unless you've got a lot of time on your hands. There's some more important things that you could do to make a whole lot more money in your practice than to spend time doing this. But it's a good exercise to just go forward cleaning up your employers as you go. Now, the other two things that were on that question were fee schedules and coverage books. Fee schedules, there should not be any old fee schedules. The fee schedule should be the current fee schedules for the plans that you are in network with. If you're not in network with a plan, you should not have a fee schedule. All right. So if you're in network, you're a participating provider for that plan, then yes, you will have a fee schedule. And that fee schedule is a schedule of the allowable fees. All right. And I can see in my list the last time I've updated those fees. All right, so I can quickly look down here and see if I need to call an insurance company and get an updated fee. Really, really simple. You should only have one or two fee schedules for every single plan that you're connected to. I say one or two because you may have PPO and Premier or something like that, but you should only have one or two fee schedules for every plan that you're a network provider for. So this should not be a long list. And it should be pretty simple to clean up this list and keep it active, and there should be no problem to worry about it. All right. Now, when it comes to coverage books, and everybody knows I am not a huge coverage book user. I can get my estimations to close to the penny without using coverage books. All right. And a lot of that has to do with managing service types. All right. And we can talk about that in a little while. Managing service types and managing my service codes that are connecting to service types so that my estimations are based on the service type and not having to do a whole lot of coverage books. I use very generic coverage books for out-of-network participation because most people who are out-of-network tell their patients, we're not network, so we can only give you a general idea of how much we're going to cover. I have gotten that pretty close in the practices I've worked in. All right, and this is 33 years of me doing this with Eaglesoft in order to, well, 20 something years with Eaglesoft, but 30 years of working in dentistry, so that I can get my estimations to the, to as close to the penny as possible. But my goal is that nobody should get a bill for more than about $20 from what I estimated to what is actual. So I'm pretty close, and and again, I don't use a lot of coverage books because I think the work that you put into coverage books does not net a return on investment of time. So, FYI. But if we want to go deeper into coverage books, we can. But we got so many questions, I don't want to beat that horse too long. Okay, properly remove employees from the system who no longer work here. Okay, so this is a two-part question because yes, you could remove non-providers from the system if they've never interacted with a patient. That's a big if. So, what I would tell you is you can look at the process of inactivating providers and staff, and it should be as simple as editing somebody and then unchecking the active button. Eaglesoft will take you through an inactivation process. What I would tell you is this is something you should do as your end of year processing, because for one, if most people are saying, I want to get rid of this hygienist because she's no longer here and I don't want her on my reports. Well, guess what? She's going to be on your reports until the next year. So this is something we should do in December to try to get rid of some employees. All right, do it. Uncheck that box. It's going to take you through a inactivation wizard, which will ask you who do you want to move your patients to that are connected to this person. And in the end, a lot of people won't be able to be deleted, which was the original question, but you might be able to inactivate them. The question was, can I remove them? Well, you might not be able to remove anybody who's had any contact with the person, because even if somebody has moved somebody on the schedule, they are connected to that patient, which means you can't remove them from the system. So don't worry about removing somebody so much as looking at a way of inactivating them. And inactivation is a process. It's literally going to ask you, let me see if I can do this, and just so you guys see what the process is. There is a way where I can inactivate a provider. No, not going to let me because I have my schedule open. And as you can just see, you're going to have to make sure everybody's out of your system. But it's actually going to take you through the process of saying, okay, if this hygienist is no longer here, who do I want to give her patients to? Who do I want to give any accounts receivable to? It'll take me through an activation wizard and actually go through the process of moving patients who are connected to that person. I don't want to do that right now, but it's something you definitely want to do towards the end of the year, and it'll take you about 5 minutes per employee, and then you'll be done. So don't worry about it. Next thing was anything new that will help, anything that would help a new front desk person. My biggest thing that I can teach any front desk person and anybody who works in Eaglesoft is be consistent. If the person calls you and they say their name is Chuck, ask them if their name is Charles. Don't put Chuck into Eaglesoft. All right. Be consistent with the way that you put in junior, senior, the third. All right. Don't put commas in between a last name and junior. Just be very consistent with the way you do that. Put your street names in very consistently. Put your towns and cities in the same way consistently. All right. And then if you do that, then it'll be a lot easier long-term to be able to find patients. So if I'm going to tell a new person how to use Eaglesoft, it's how to do that, be consistent, and then how to set up a new family. And the only thing I can tell you about setting up a new family is there's a ton of videos, there's a ton of posts in the Facebook group. Let them look at it, let them work on the Eaglesoft Assistant and create their own patients so they can see how people are connected. But I don't do a lot of work with new users of Eaglesoft. I always tell offices who have new users to reach out to their local Patterson technology advisor, their trainers who are local, and get a trainer in to work with that new person to help them. I mean, it's sad to say, but I'm kind of like the cranky old man, and for me to help a new user is like like when your dad taught you how to drive a car. Sometimes dads aren't the best to do that because they're not patient. And I'm making a generalization, but you know what I mean. I'm not good at that. I'm good at helping people who know how to use Eaglesoft use it better. But for new users, I always tell them to reach out to the local Patterson trainers, and also to build that relationship so that they have somebody who they can call if there's a local issue that they need to work on. So that's my new patient wrap. I'll go through that. The next question, and I know I'm going through this fast, but we only have an hour. Let's see. Why is it bad to use fast checkout? Okay. Okay. Why is it bad to use fast checkout? I hate fast checkout. I mean, what it comes down to is I think it doesn't work the way most people expect it to work. And I think when you use it, you can see I don't even have fast checkout on my toolbar. I remove fast checkout because I think it does a disservice to the patients. It does a disservice to the practice when you use fast checkout. You lose a lot of the steps. So for me, if I especially go back to training a new person, if I grab a patient and I hit fast checkout, it will walk out this patient what they had done, what they had scheduled and not necessarily what they had done. All right, let me clarify that. If a patient's scheduled for an exam for bite wings and prophy, and the patient just got in the back and in the clinical department decided that the person needed a full series instead of the 4 bite wings, what's going to happen is it's going to walk out the 4 bite wings because that's what the person was scheduled for. And then what I typically hear is offices say, oh, well, we just take the 4 bite wings off and we put the FMX on the schedule. Okay, as a practice consultant, what you're doing is changing your scheduled versus goal. So the patient was scheduled for 4 bite wings. You removed that from the schedule and added an FMX, which means you changed history. The patient was not scheduled for FMX. So if I look back at your schedule reflects exactly what you've always done, but not what you always had scheduled, which to me makes no sense. Why would you change the schedule to reflect what you did? You post what you did and you walk out what was posted. So it's a long drawn out conversation about why I don't use fast checkout. I just find that it is it's not the right thing to do. All right. So I see your question came in. I'll answer that too. So I don't use fast checkout, and it's a deep discussion about why I don't do it, but I find less mistakes when you don't use fast checkout. So that's why I don't use it. How to enter new insurance when old insurance claims are still open. Okay, so there's a whole long answer to that in the Facebook group. And I also want you guys to know, if you go to the crew process.com, where you guys registered for this class. So if you go to the crewprocess.com and go to Eaglesoft stuff and then go to my blog, all right, almost everything that I kind of talk about in the Facebook group, there is a post, all right, a long form post about my answer to those questions. So if you click on right there, all right, so new insurance, but there is an open claim. This spells out exactly how to close that claim and start with new insurance. So, I mean, I don't want to bore you guys with telling you how to go through the whole process when everything is laid out right here in this post. But go to the Facebook group, go to the blog, so Eaglesoft stuff, go to the blog, and you'll be able to find the answer to that question. It is really simple and easy to do it. So go there, you'll find it. And let's go to the next question. What is the best way to keep track of frequency limits like 2 pro fees covered per year? Okay, so go back to, so the question is, how do I keep track of frequency limits? All right. All of my information on frequencies is under my employer in my notes field. It tells me pro fees per year, fluorides, bite wings, sealants, et cetera, et cetera. All that information is in that notes button. I have a template that I paste in there, and I know exactly my frequencies. All right. Now, again, 30 years of doing dentistry, I've never really run into this problem where I've had a patient who had 5 pro fees in a year. I mean, if they're coming in for a 3rd pro fee during the year, me as the front desk person, and I did work at the front desk for a really long time, I knew that they were coming in for a third one for the year. So that was never really an issue for me. And I don't understand why this continues to come up as an issue in a lot of practices. But if they are coming in for a third one in the year, they get charged for it. I mean, you know, that is the bottom line. If I buy 5 boxes of tissues at the grocery store, they charge me 5 times. I mean, you know, it is what it is. But the frequency should be there. And as part of what should be happening in the clinical area, when you're opening up a patient, I can see last FMX, last bite wings, last Panorex. If you have your IntelliCare set up, you see this little icon right there? That, and again, this is something I set up for my office. I can see the last pro fee was more than 8 months ago. All right. So everything I need to know about this patient, they're due for bite wings, they're due for a Panorex, or due for me to review their bite wings and for me to review their bite wings, Panorex. And if I hit my insurance button, there's my notes about how often I can do a procedure. So as the treating clinician, hygienist or doctor, I should look at the screen. I could go, okay, Mary was here in June. When can I do her next pro fee? Well, there's the information right there. And there's the information about the last time something has been done. So why am I doing a whole lot of work about finding that information? I don't need a pop-up. I don't need a warning. All I need to do is just look at the notes. And again, the due diligence is upon the front desk to make sure those notes are in the system. So, I mean, I know that's not the answer everybody wants, but that is the answer to the question. It's like, you know, why can't I do 100 miles an hour? Well, because there's a sign that says it's 55 miles an hour. I can't give you a better answer than that. So, but some people still do it. Let's see. And I'm going to try to get to, I'm going through these quickly so I can get to your questions out there. Recently went out of network with a insurance company, and we've been collecting data on what insurance companies pay for out of network. Yeah, that goes back to what I said about when you're out of network, if you're using coverage books, if you're using service types, and let's go back to service types, list, general setup, and service types. All right, if I have a list of service types, which I do, I've got a million of them. So I've got all these different service types, and you can see I can tell what insurance covers for FMXs versus other diagnostic. I can see what they cover for a occlusal guard versus a sleep guard. Do they cover the implant body? Do they cover the implant restoration? So I have all of these things. Oral surgery, minor, major, adult ortho, adult child. And then under each employer, let's just edit this guy, I can see those categories. So I can tell this person has zero coverage for a sleep guard. All right, you know, I put all this information when I'm on the phone with the insurance company so that when I post a service, I get a percentage back. And I'm going to tweak that based on EOBs that come back in so that I can see that if a Crown comes back and they're paying 33% of the total amount of my charge, I'm going to set my fee for prosto removable at 33%. So I can get pretty close with my estimations just using service types. And that way I don't need a bunch of coverage books in my system. All right. So again, out of network depends on, do you want to be exact? All right. And if you're exact, just be prepared to eat some of the money, because if you're telling somebody they're going to cover $4.72 and they cover $4.74, you're going to have to make up the difference. And the patient's going to be mad at you and not at the insurance company. So estimation means estimation as close as possible without, you know, it's like winning on The Price is Right. You know, you want to be close enough, but not over. So, and so hopefully that answers that question. Coordination of benefits and payments. Again, go back to the Facebook group. There is a long discussion on coordination of benefits. My good friend Rick Garofalo will tell you there are more than 250 combinations of coordination of benefits. There is no right answer when it comes to coordination of benefits, especially when you're in network with one or both. So when I do coordination of benefits, there is a guide here I'm going back to the Facebook group. I'm going to go down to my insurance, and I'm going to go down to, and I think it's down the bottom by dual insurances. But the way I set up my dual insurance, all right, here it is. All right. If you look down here, when I do dual PPO plans, and I think that's what it's listed under, but it says dual PPO plans. I actually have it set up so that it does not do write-offs during a coordination of benefits process. So I know ahead of time that if it's the dual coverage setup, there it is right there, dual coverage setup, that those employers do not have coverage books or fee schedules attached to them. I'm going to wait until both plans pay, and then I'm either going to balance bill the patient or I'm going to do a write-off. And that is the only way that I've found to be accurate. You can play the game of putting fee schedules in, in like the higher or the lower of the two fee schedules in the patient preferences. But the problem is, one plan that may pay lower on one service may pay higher on another, and you're going to get lost. So 20% of the time you're going to be wrong. So I don't play that game. I have it set up so that I don't do any write-offs during a coordination benefit process, and I balance bill my patient. And again, I don't have an accounts receivable problem, so it's not an issue for me. And I think if you're using this process, the only way I would tell you guys to use a process is if I could tell you that it should cause a problem. So that is my entire coordination of benefits setup. It's in here. And if you have any more questions, post a question, we'll do that. Can you submit balances second, even if primary says patient does not owe any money? Yes, you can, because you should be billing. The question came up in the chat, can I submit a balance to a second, even if primary says patient does not owe any money? Okay, based on the contract that you have, and I'm only going to suggest this if you're in network. If you have a contract with Aetna and a contract with Guardian, you submit to Aetna, Aetna pays their amount, and then you submit to Guardian, and Guardian pays what they're going to pay. The contracts, and it's the weirdest thing because it's the only situation that I know of where you have two contracts and those contracts don't exclude each other. So you submit to both as prescribed by the contract. You submit to the first, you submit to the second, and then, like I said, you coordinate those benefits based on what those two things say. One of my favorite people, Tom Lamoli, says, read the EOB, submit the claim. When the EOBs come back, you determine what the patient's responsibility are, as the patient or the practice responsibilities are based on that EOB. And sometimes they're confusing, I know, but send them to both and then come back. All right. This is going to go patient expressed by going to treatment. Okay. So treatment planning, what are the steps for treatment planning? So my treatment planning process is outside of Eaglesoft, hate to tell you. So everything that I do is done in my chart, and I will actually go into treatment plan to build a treatment plan for a patient. But beyond that, my treatment planning process is on paper using a Word document because I don't like the way Eaglesoft prints a treatment plan. All right. I love Eaglesoft for a lot of stuff, but not for presentation to patients. All right. My background is Ritz-Carlton and Disney. Ritz-Carlton and Disney are not going to print something that looks like it came from 1980 onto a piece of paper that they're going to hand to a customer. So I don't do that. My presentation format is a whole lot different. And I've talked about it a whole lot in the Facebook group. But I will go through the process of setting up a treatment plan in Eaglesoft, laying out the phases of that treatment plan. And here, let's do this. I'm going to start from scratch, making a treatment plan for a patient. And I'm going to do this through my chart. And I'll use Hank because I know he doesn't have any treatment. And I'm going to show you how I would do a treatment plan for this patient. For one, I use a lot of exploding codes. So let's do I can do an implant. All right. And you can see I have these exploding codes up here. All my exploding codes are always at the top of my list. So I have an exploding code for an implant, single tooth, custom. So let's just grab a tooth. Let's do 31. Now I'm going to do this, that, and I can see. So here is the implant body. Let's do that on phase 1. All right. And then phase 2 is going to be the custom. Phase 1 is also going to be custom abutment. Phase 2 is going to be the crown. All right, so there's my treatment plan. I can save that. All right, and then I'll go build a treatment plan based on that. So no plan exists for this patient. Would I like to create a plan? Yes, I do. I give this a name. I can't stand when I see dates here. I don't need a date for a description. I need a description for a description. So this is going to be for the implant number 31. All right, and here are the services. Yeah, I know I had another thing on there. So I'm going to grab my services and use those services. And I can see the phasing. So I can tell visit 1 what's going to happen, on visit 2 what's going to happen. That's how I'm going to lay this out. If I need to add something at this point, I can, but you guys know I'll just go for this. And then I'll process this. I don't print the treatment plan for the patient. Well, I do, but I use it as a guideline. I don't hand it to the patient. But you can see in this field why I always want to give it a name, because if this was just a list of dates, I wouldn't know what this plan was for. So that by phase, I'm going to print it by phase, and I'm going to hit OK. I don't have a printer attached, so I can't show you how this works. All right. All right. And now I go through the process of transcribing this onto a Word document so that I can present to the patient. But utilizing exploding codes is the best way in the world to create treatment plans. I have a ton of them. So even my dentures, if I just put in period DENT, there's an entire treatment plan for a denture. There's the upper denture, the lower denture, the vertical dimensions, the wax up, the try-in, delivery, and then 4 post-delivery adjustments, all done with just one code. So I use exploding codes to do all my treatment planning for the most part, just to make it really quick and easy. All right. So that's treatment planning. What are the steps for treatment planning? And a lot of that stuff is already built in. Changing preferences for workstations. Okay, and I think this question has to do with because it says changing preferences for workstations. Is there an easier way so that they're all uniform? There is something that you can get from the Patterson Technology Center. It is called the Preference Copy Utility. So I can get a operatory computer set up the way I like it. I can download this preference copy utility, and then I can copy and paste it to all the other operatory computers. And then I can do the same thing for all the front office computers. So if you want to try to do that, especially if a very large office, call the Patterson Technology Center support, and then say, how can I get this to work? And what they'll do is they'll download this little piece of software for you, and they can copy a good computer to all the other computers. And I do that because I save on my server what I call a best operatory computer and then a best front office computer on my server. So if I ever have a computer that goes bad, I can just go back and just paste it from the old one. So hopefully that helps to get everything consistent, and it will copy the toolbars, it'll copy preferences, it'll do a whole lot of things. So hopefully that helps. Is there a way to print out what the patient's portion will be without creating a full treatment plan? Yes, and I'm guessing on this question, and if a patient's standing at the desk and they say, do you know how much I'm going to owe on my next visit? I'm guessing this is what the question is. Like, you don't want to print out a treatment plan. You just want to kind of get an idea what they're going to be responsible for. What I always do is I just go to my schedule and I just walk it out. I open up an account and just do a walkout. All right. And you can kind of get an idea. Those are the services. You can get a quick idea of what the patient's portion is going to be based on that. That's one of the ways that you might be able to use the fast walkout, but just be careful. Don't process it all the way through. So I just use this to get a quick idea, just almost like walk out the next visit, so they can get an idea of what their patient portion will be without having to print a treatment plan. And I guess that is what that question was. So breakdowns for insurance. I think that's what we kind of already talked about, which, and again, in my employers, my breakdown, let me pick one that actually has information. My breakdowns, nope, that's not going to be there, are going to be in my employer notes. And I just have this as a template in a little document on my desktop that I just copy and paste here and fill in the blanks when I'm talking to the insurance company. So that's my breakdown of insurance. I don't do a whole lot of, I definitely don't have a paper breakdown of insurance where I mean, 100 years ago, I called the insurance company, I wrote everything down on a piece of paper, and then I transcribed it into the computer. Now I just do everything right here in the computer. Doctor, I see your question came in, and I'll answer that in a sec. Best way to remind front desk when scheduling cleanings, x-rays, the insurance frequencies. Again, we talked about insurance frequencies. I automatically know on my schedule who is due to review bite wings, who's due to review FMXs. All that information shows up on my schedule, so I don't need to do a whole lot of that. And the information, again, is in my employer notes. So I don't need to be reminded of that. It's all right there. One easy tip, and this is something that most people don't realize, actually, no, it's not there, it's inside the appointment. So when you're inside this appointment, there is a little umbrella guy right there. All right, if you hit that, highlighted in blue are going to be your frequencies. So if you're doing a walkout or if you're scheduling an appointment, all right, again, my employer notes are going to be right there, and you can get there by using that little umbrella guy. It says insurance information. So I don't like a lot of pop-ups, because what I realize is the more pop-ups that you get, more people who ignore them. So I don't need reminders. I just need people to do their jobs. How to manage and apply unassigned credits. Just hit yes. That's my answer. Just hit yes. Unassigned credits are typically not a problem with the patient. It's a problem with the way that people do walkouts. Walking out using fast walkout will cause unassigned credits. Walking out by using the account payment tab in the walkout. So if I'm here and I'm doing a walkout of this patient, all right, this is the easiest way for me to explain this. If I'm doing a walkout and I'm in the process of posting a crown, D27 for you. So I'm here, and this person owes me $340.25. If I go to account payment, which is what I see all the time, and I post a payment for $340 and I hit save, the patient now has an unassigned credit of $340 because I haven't saved the crown yet. So if you post an account payment, you're going to have an unassigned credit. If I go back over here to walkout and then I hit save, they now have a debit. Now that unassigned credit and that debit don't necessarily go together, and a lot of times office staff does not have the ability to assign an unassigned credit. So a lot of times the office is causing those unassigned credits every single day. So what should happen in this screen, if the person owes me $340, I should be hitting add payment and posting a $340 payment here. All right. And not posting it as an account payment. And that would get rid of that unassigned credit. So hopefully that makes sense. I've talked about that a million times, and that is the number one reason why people have assigned credits. But what I can tell you is you can, in most instances, you should be able to just hit yes for unassigned credits, unless you have a husband and wife in the same account and they don't want you to assign each other's credits. And if that's the case, they shouldn't have the same account. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll discard that. I'm trying to quickly go through all your questions, guys. Non-covered services using coverage books with an in-network fee schedule. Okay, we talked about that a little while ago. So one of the things that you should realize is if there is a non-covered service, it really shouldn't be in a fee schedule. So, I'm trying to clarify this. So if, say, I'll use a example like whitening should not be on a fee schedule, because that's a non-covered service. So that shouldn't be, it's not a non-considered service. So that shouldn't be on your fee schedule. If they don't cover buildups and within your states, you are allowed to charge the patient the full amount, then don't put the buildups on that fee schedule. And if it has to be because it's a specific plan, then maybe you need two fee schedules. So you have a Guardian non-covered services and a Guardian with covered services. So you have two versions of the same fee schedule. But when it comes to non-covered services, that's the easiest way to handle that. And if you want me to go deeper in that, let me know. I will go deeper. Clearing accounts receivable with outstanding claims. Two really easy answers to that. One is you should be sending statements out daily. That's the easiest way to clear your accounts receivable. Send people bills. I see offices all the time who are holding bills until insurances are completely paying. That makes no sense. If I have an outstanding claim for $80, but I owe you $20, I should still be getting a bill. And I should be getting it the day after I leave, in essence, because most people say they're going to bring you back a check. So send a statement. And the people who get mad at you because they're getting a bill, tough, they got a bill. I mean, but when it comes to accounts receivable, that's one of those things you either have deadbeats or you don't. But when it comes to insurance claims, your claim should be paid in less than 45 days. I do everything from my claims window. I look at my primary and secondary claims, and I look at my outstanding claims, my open claims. And then I hit this button for days outstanding. And I can see, and remember, this isn't a real office. So I look right here, and any claim that's over 45 days, I'll tell you, for a lot of the offices that I personally work with, when I walk into the office, I'll just come in here. I'll sort this by days outstanding. Anything over 45 days, I'll just resubmit. Because if it's over 45 days and we haven't done something on it, I'm going to do something to push this claim through. Because if nothing else, within a few days, I'm going to get a notification that says that claim's already in process. That claim went to the check went to the patient. You've already been paid on this. Something will happen in the next couple of days. They need another x-ray, whatever it is. So I just reprocess the claims. If it's over 45 days, I just push it out and see what happens. Sometimes they'll just send me a check. But the other thing is, I just want to use this. And then what I do is I find out why this claim has been outstanding so long. So I can go into looking at the claim, change my answers, find out what's going on here. All right. Find out why it's not been paid. Maybe it's on the wrong claim form. But this is the quickest, easiest way to do that instead of printing some accounts receivable report and never getting to the bottom of the list. So that's how we do it. Claims, sort by date, start working anything over 45 days, oldest one first. Nothing should be older than 45 days, period, unless it's coordination of benefits with some restoration involved. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm going to try to answer some of the questions. I answered all the ones that were in the Facebook group, so let me see if I can go through. Yeah, you can hear me. I saw that. I'm starting from the top of the list. Is there a way to do quick search to see what appointments are available instead of searching day by day? Yes, there is. So, and you can see I don't have it on my toolbar, and this just could be because I'm an old crotchety man and I'm faster than the search is. So there is a on schedule, a free time search and appointment search. So if I'm searching for an appointment, actually, let's do this, sorry, free time search. All right, I could pick a patient and I can say, I want an appointment with one of my hygienists, and you can see I have to highlight and choose the hygienist, or I could pick one and I can say between this date and this date, between this time and this time, but they only want a Tuesday, all right, and then begin the search. The problem with that is I could have flipped through my Tuesdays and found an open Tuesday before the computer could find it. So sometimes the computer is not as fast as we are. So yes, there is a way of doing that, but my opinion is that you could get there faster by just flipping through your Tuesdays, or use your week at a glance. All right, and look at these openings. So that white space are openings in your schedule. So if you get used to looking at that, you can start to see where your openings are in your schedule, and you won't need that free time search. So yes, you do have the ability. You know, I always say yes. The answer is typically yes, you can, but why would you? All right. So yes, there is a free time search available. Where is the spot to write 5 units for treatment? Okay, so there is no place to write how much time you need, and I don't know. Oh, okay. I'm gonna guess that this is the question is, where is the spot to write 5 units in treatment if you want to write that amount of time? Okay, so I'm going to guess a couple things. In my auto notes, every one of my auto notes is going to ask at the bottom of the appointment how much time is needed for the appointment. All right, so I put the times there, but also, I don't know if you noticed in that last treatment plan that I wrote, when I'm doing a pretty intense treatment plan, let me go back to Hank Aaron. Okay. I actually had I lost it. you see this treatment phasing? I actually have a service code, and it's A001. Treatment phase timing. I can actually type in here how much time I want. So when I'm doing a treatment plan, I can actually add this code for each phase of treatment and actually add the amount of time I want. So I actually have a code that I can actually manually write in how much time I want to have for a service. And I can do that for every visit. So I could have a 5-phase treatment plan, and I can actually write in for each phase of treatment how much time I want. And I hope that helps. I'm not sure exactly about the question, but hopefully that gives you a general idea. If not, ask me another way and I can help you. Do you know anything about Opera texting? How do we know if people are confirmed from texting? It does not show in the computer. I don't use Opera. I don't recommend Opera. And I'm assuming you mean Opera DDS. I don't recommend it. I don't use it. I don't know that I have any of the clients that I personally work with using Opera. 99% of the people who I work with, well, not 99, but probably 80% of the people I work with are using RevenueWell. It's the one I recommend, even though in some instances it's not the best. It is still the one I recommend. RevenueWell to me is like the stereo that comes with your car. It was built in. It's made to work with the steering wheel controls and everything else. So just use it. They've got some bumps in the road, but they are the only ones that typically work directly with Eaglesoft to work out those bumps. So that's my opinion. But I don't know anything about how Opera DDS does it because I don't have any firsthand knowledge. So sorry, I can't help you beyond that. What would you recommend would be a way to call patients who haven't called back to schedule, keep a log of the work? Okay. I don't do that. I don't recommend doing that. If somebody leaves without an appointment, tough. Bye. I know that's really cold, but I equate scheduling with dating. At the end of the date, if you don't want to make a date with me for next Friday, you're probably not into me. So for me, if a patient doesn't appoint, they're not into me, they're not interested in me. If they call me back later on, okay, maybe we'll consider going out. But I truly believe that dating and scheduling are equals. And at the end of the date, if we can't commit to the next date, you're not that into me. So the only way I can say is, yeah, you can make a list. You can run a list through Money Finder, and we can create parameters for that. You can create a list of patients who are due for pro fees or due for a particular procedure. I use Money Finder for all of that stuff. And I don't print lists, so all of that stuff goes into my InContact. I'll show you what I mean. So practice management, Money Finder, and I can generate patients. Let's just say, give me all my patients between 55 and 75, because I want to make some phone calls about implants. I'm just making this up, guys. All right. And then what I'm going to do is, instead of printing the list, I'm going to export the patients to InContact. And I'm going to call that list my implant calls. Implant calls. I don't know if I have any patients that fit that criteria, but we're going to see. And then I click my phone. All right. And there's my implant call list. So here's all my implant calls. And now there's the phone number. I call the person and I say, hey, Bob, can you come in for an implant? And they go, well, sure, that sounds fine. And I get scheduled. And I can make a note. Bob said he's going to come in for the implant. And I make that note go into the account notes. So that's the way I do anything when it comes to printing reports. I always send them to InContact, all right, and then work my list from InContact. I never print list. Everything's done from InContact. All right, hopefully that helps. What are the top 1 or 2 top 3 things I suggest for practice to do to improve Eaglesoft productivity? Work on your chart. Work from the chart. Have your clinical department dig as deep into the chart as possible, because the one thing I can tell you is nobody misses treatment when it looks like this. Nobody overlooks treatment when it looks like this. Work from your chart, better utilize your chart, and have all of your imaging, all of your documentation go into imaging and not into SmartDoc. I know immediately what implant that is. That is a Brennemark, because I can see it right there just by clicking on the tooth. I see my implant bottle. I see my implant label. I can see the letter that went to the specialist. I can see the lab slip from Glidewell from 2010. Everything is right here. This is like having a GPS where anytime you're using anything else, it's like MapQuest. So utilizing your chart. That's the top thing I could tell you to use to get Eaglesoft productivity up. Can you submit balance to second insurance? Okay, that was a question already asked. Can you show us how to schedule a patient for us by going to the treatment plan the correct way? You can't schedule from the treatment plan necessarily, but when you go to schedule, it's always going to tell you that the patient has plan services. Would you like to use them? And when you hit yes, if there's a treatment plan, it will tell you up here. If there's no treatment plan, it'll just be a list of services. So if there's a treatment plan, it will actually show you the plan that you're working for, and it'll have the phasing going down this column here. So, but I don't know that there's a way that you can actually schedule from a treatment plan, if you mean from within the treatment plan window, but you can certainly schedule services that were put onto a treatment plan just from the schedule. It's always going to ask you. Let's see. Is there somewhere we can see the Word document that you're using for treatment plan? Yes. Do me a favor. Oh, actually, here in the Facebook group. So the question was the treatment planning form that I use in the Eaglesoft field guide. If you go to the top of the field guide and go to, I think, more and files. If you look down here, it says Andre's treatment plan form somewhere over here. But if you look down here through the files, there is a treatment plan form. And if you don't find it, send me a message through Facebook or whatever, and I will get it to you. But I know it's in here someplace because I posted it, but I posted it such a long time, it's probably way down there. But it is definitely in the file section. But if you can't find it, send me a message and I will get it for you. Has anyone experienced with Patterson Insurance Suite? So Patterson's new insurance suite with Change Health, there are goods and bads about it. A lot of what I'm going to tell you is there is this giant David and Goliath battle going on between Change Health, Vine, all these other companies. Everybody's having issues with insurance e-claims going through. There is no easy answer. Just take the lesser of the evils and go with it. I don't have a recommendation for you. Go for it. No other way to put it. Is there a way to have the insurance estimate correct for downgrades? Yes, coverage books. My estimation is done with a coverage book, and it is really simple. Let me just show you. I have a very generic coverage book. There we go. So here is as simple as you can make it. So I put my 4 codes for my posterior residence. I put my allowables here. I put ignore here because when I put ignore in the coverage area, it looks back at the employer to find out the percentage that that employer pays for posterior residence. Again, I have a percentage just for posterior residence I'm talking about. So I see this is my amalgam fee, because that's what typically happens. They downgrade based on the amalgam fee. So here's my amalgam fee. I put ignore here, and I have, this is the write-off, the difference between my fee and the amalgam allowance. All right, but that's as simple as I can make it, because I can utilize this same Delta Dental downgrade for all of my Delta Dentals, because the coverage will go back to the employer to find out what the employer has in the percentage. So this is as simple as I do for downgrading composites, and my estimations are dead on. In network, always dead on. All right, so hopefully that helps. And I can tell you how you can do that. Easiest way to get the patient's picture into Eaglesoft. Stop asking for pictures. Stop trying to take pictures over the counter with a webcam or something like that. If you're in the operatory and you're taking pictures, fine. Especially if you're taking Invisalign shots or something like that. But I don't. I use driver's license. I scan driver's licenses in, because the beauty of a driver's license is I've got the legal name of the patient. I've now identified the patient for the purposes of HIPAA and for if I ever have to go after them for collections. So I always scan driver's licenses, and I don't have any problem with patients. As soon as they walk in, I say driver's license, insurance card, co-payment. And I get all 3, just the same thing a physician would ask for, so I do it. But I always get driver's licenses, so I don't have to worry about asking for a photo. because everybody's going to tell you that they hate to take their photo because they're on their way to the hairdresser. So I don't take patient photos anymore unless it's going to be done as part of Invisalign or something like that. Hopefully that helped. How do you change insurance when someone has an open claim? We talked about that. Hopefully you heard that. I don't know if you came in later, but there is an entire post. I'll just tell you again, there's an entire post in the Facebook, in my, on my website. So the same place you guys went to register, go to the blog, Eaglesoft Field blog. And right here, this whole blog post is about how to update insurance if they still have an open claim. All right. Love the dating analogy. I'm glad. I truly believe that. I've written 4 articles about that, and I always get hate mail about it, but I truly believe it. I don't do recall. Revenue Well does my recall for me. And if you're getting 22 new patients a month per provider, you should not need to chase patients. You're filling people who fall through the cracks. Sorry. Word document template. Can you share that template? Okay, yeah, I just showed you where to find that. But again, if you can't do it, can you show us how to draw a lingual retainer? Yes, I can. If you go to the Facebook group and you go to guides and you go down to charting and you go straight down here. I tried to put these in alphabetical order. I've been trying to get this as clean as possible. If you go down to, I think it's under ortho retainer or something, or under lingual bar. But anyway, it's in here someplace. But there's all the steps of how to do, fixed retainer. It's right there. So charting fixed retainer is here. And there is a video on how to do this. It is pretty simple. I don't want to show it to you right now because we're almost out of time. But the entire way of doing it is here. And there's a video on my YouTube channel for how to do it. So everything, all the instructions are right there for how to do a lingual bar. And if you get stuck, just send me a message and I will get back to you on how to fix it. How do you get rid of those services that are not in treatment plan? I don't know what you mean. How do you get rid of services that are not in a treatment plan? You delete them. I don't really understand the question, but get back to me about that because I don't know what you mean about how do you get rid of services that are not in a treatment plan. If they are not in a treatment plan, they shouldn't be there. I don't know, but get back to me. Give me some clarification on that one. I'll answer your question. Can you help show me how to make a code so that I can add 5 units? Oh, okay. So they were asking the question, how did I create that code? All right. So under my service codes, here's my code, A001, treatment plan phasing. So what I did is I created a code. My service code is A0001. My ADA code, I always use my true ADA codes when I make made up codes. It's D99999. I just stuck a display abbreviation, although I don't need that. And then I have a description, treatment plan phasing, and I put this line there so I know that I have space to fill out. My service type is administrative. So I have a service type for all the stuff that I do in office, in office to make up codes. And then the most important thing is, see this says allow for freeform description. If I check that box, it then allows me to edit the description as I'm going. So now I'll show you how I utilize that. So if I treatment plan this service, and I'm making this service as part of a treatment plan. So let's just say on phase 4, I need 90 minutes to do this procedure. That's as simple as it is. So phase 4, 90 minutes for the procedure. And now it becomes part of the treatment planning. So that when I add that treatment to a treatment plan, phase 4 will actually have that timeline built in. So hopefully that makes sense for you. Let's see, what is the best way to track cancellations and fill last minute appointments? Goes back to dating. You don't. Somebody stands you up for a date. What are you going to do? Start calling people from the restaurant to show up? To me, it's silly. What needs to happen is if somebody cancels, there should be a process in place to fill that, but it should be filled in a very systematic process. The biggest thing that I do, and I know this has nothing to do with Eaglesoft, but for one, every office should stop scheduling recall patients 6 months and 2 days out. That is just ridiculous. You should be scheduling 6 months and 2 weeks out because people are creatures of habits. Mary always likes to come in Tuesdays. So if you call her tomorrow for an appointment, yeah, she'll come in for a Tuesday, but you have to be careful that you're not going to mess up her insurance by bringing her in at 5 months and 30 days. So if I push my patients out 6 months and 2 weeks, I can pull somebody back forward on the day that they like, but I don't ever have to mess up their insurance. And I do that religiously. I mean, I do it in a way that there's a whole process. I teach an 8-hour course about how to fill missed appointments and how to avoid missed appointments. A lot of it is, again, the fault of the people who sit at the front desk who say, oh, it's just your cleaning, we'll see you in 6 months. Oh, it's just a small filling, we'll see you in 6 months. That's the problem with broken appointments and cancellations. And yes, they have increased with COVID, but I think it still goes back to the same thing. So sorry. Can you use unusual remarks box to populate insurance forms? You sure can, but just be aware, anything you write in that remarks for unusual services will automatically kick that claim to an advisor. I have I've taught people, don't put anything in that box. Even if it's a period, it automatically winds up going to somebody who could deny that claim for cause. They can look at that claim and go, no, we don't want to pay it. They don't have to have any reason. So just be aware, I don't put a lot of things in the remarks for unusual services. And now with the new CARES Act and what the insurances are looking for when your progress notes, I don't want anything in my remarks for unusual services because I want it in my progress notes so that I can attach my progress notes to any future claims, and that's how I get paid. So yes, you can put something in remarks for unusual services. Yes, it will populate the insurance form in the comment box, box 35, I think it is. But do I? No. Do I recommend? Absolutely not. And hopefully that helps. So looks like I answered all the questions. Wow, I did that in exactly an hour and 9 minutes. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you want, and you have another question, I've got another maybe 10 minutes before I've got to get onto another Zoom call, and then maybe 15 minutes before I have to get on another Zoom call. If you have any questions, you can either post them down there, or if you want to open your mic, you're welcome to open your mic and ask the question. And like I said, I got another 15 minutes. So I'm happy to give you my time if I can. So ask a question. And while you're doing that, just so you guys know, my website, thegroupprocess.com. If you need anything, everything is here. You know, if you need to get in touch with me, you can literally go here and click there and it will dial my number. Anything that I can help with, I'm happy to help with. Can you send a pre-D to a new insurance company while an insurance claim is out? Yes, you can, because in that update, let's go back to the claims box. So I can go here, I create a pre-D, and when I hit, let me show my open claims. So I can actually hit change insurance, and I can say for this claim only. So this could be for your predetermination. So I could say change it for this claim only. So you can pre-D to a new insurance company while you still have open claims. All right. Good question. Never thought about that, but yeah, you can do it in the same way. So even a pre-D, you can actually set it and send it to a different insurance company than the one that you have on file by using that change insurance button. Anybody else have one? Some insurance companies are now requiring quad numbers instead of letters. Yes, there is a post in the Facebook group about that. The only way you can do that, if you run into that, if you find out the insurance company is wanting the quad letters instead of the numbers, is to use that remarks for unusual services. Yeah, you can do that, but remember, it's gonna kick to an advisor to review. So just so you know. But yeah, you can, if you have to, put it in there and it automatically go. It'll basically create a paper claim, but put your quad numbers into the remarks for unusual services. Is there a list of my admin codes? Yes, in the file section, and also if you just go into the Facebook group and type admin codes, and there is a blog post with all my admin codes. So all the admin codes are one place or another, but definitely I think they're service types, but I think I did it in here too. So But there's a blog post that has all my admin codes, and there's a list someplace else, but a couple different places. Yeah, now that I thought about, they're definitely in the Facebook group. Do you ever use cell phone insurance lists? Absolutely not. I own my own company. I would never advise any office to put self for me. All of your doctors are self-employed for the most part, or have a corporation, but you're not going to list them as self. So you would actually put, again, I always use the example of the office you work in. All the employees in the office don't work for self. They work for Dr. Smith or whatever the name of your practice is. So you're going to put that in. For those individual plans, you put Aetna individual plan, Delta individual plan, Cigna individual plan, so that you can quickly find those. But they also have group numbers. So find out what group number that person has for that individual plan, because now you can set up benefit information that you could apply to multiple people. Because believe me, insurance companies aren't selling one person a plan. They're going to sell multiple people an individual plan. So don't create a plan for Mary Smith. Create a plan that multiple people can use. Even AARP plans are self plans, but nobody puts them in as self. They put them in under retired, which they shouldn't, or under AARP, which they should. So hopefully that answers your question about self. There should never be anything in the list of employers called self or retired. All right. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a long list of nothing. And duplications where you don't need duplications. Is there a list of insurance companies that is current? No. I don't have a list of insurance companies. If you go to the Change Health website, and I think if you go to Change Health Payer ID list, and you go here, if it'll ever come up, you can actually find the payer ID list by kind of reversing it, but you don't need every single insurance company. You just kind of want, there it is, you want the ones that you guys use. So the best way to create a list is do it on your own and just do it based on your EOBs. Take a stack of EOBs, look at the mailing list, the mailing addresses on those lists, and make sure that under Eaglesoft, you're actually updating your insurance company list and putting a plus sign after the ones you know are the good ones. And then eventually the ones that aren't good, you'll be able to sort of get rid of. Some of them you might have to inactivate, but you'll be able to clean up the list and know that only the ones with the plus sign after it are the ones that we're going to use as an office. But I can't find a list of insurance companies, and I think Rick tried to do one in his group. I've tried to do it a couple times, but I can't find them. How do you duplicate fee schedules to change a code to a newer code? So if you go to list and fee schedules, all right, and you create a new fee schedule, all right, you can base that fee schedule on another fee schedule. So I can create a new fee schedule. So now Delta Dental, imagine they have a Delta Dental Ultimate plan. So I can make this the Delta Ultimate plan. And then I can go through and tweak individual codes based on that new thing, or delete the codes that I don't want on that list. So yeah, you can create a new fee schedule based on an old fee schedule in your system. If that makes sense to you, Charlotte. Cool. All right. And anything else anybody needs? You got me. You better ask while you got a chance. And everybody knows if you need me in your office, you can get through the website. There's training opportunities here. And like I said, get to know your local Patterson Technology Center, Patterson Technology Advisor for handholding in the office. That's your first line of defense, and get them in to help you as much as possible. Anything else, guys? If not, I'm going to shut this down. And it's not like you don't know how to get in touch with me. So thank you guys for everything. And if you need anything, you know how to get in touch with me. I will talk to you soon. Talk to you.